Hold on to your steering wheels, America, because the road ahead is looking bumpy. How bumpy? Try 2.29 million jobs bumpy. That's right, folks. New tariffs on imported cars could send shockwaves through the US economy, putting millions of jobs in jeopardy. Remember when Trump slapped tariffs on imported steel and aluminum back in 2018? Yeah, good times. Now he's set his sights on the auto industry, and things are about to get real. These tariffs, my friends, are no joke. We're talking a 25% tax on most imported vehicles and parts. That means higher prices for consumers, less demand for cars, and a whole lot of uncertainty for the American workers who build them. This isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. This is about real people, real families, and the very real possibility of losing their livelihoods. Stay tuned, because we're about to break down exactly how these tariffs are shaking the auto industry to its core. First up on the tariff hit list, our friends across the Pacific, Japan. Japanese automakers like Toyota, Honda, and Nissan are feeling the heat, and it's not just from the rising sun. These companies have been major players in the US auto market for decades, providing jobs for millions of Americans. But these tariffs are throwing a spanner in the works, disrupting supply chains and sending profits into a tailspin. Toyota, the big dog of the Japanese auto world, is bracing for a $10.7 billion hit. Nissan? They're slashing jobs and closing factories faster than you can say yen depreciation. And Honda? Let's just say their profit forecast is looking about as bright as a burnt-out headlight. These tariffs aren't just hurting Japanese companies, though. They're also impacting American consumers who are now facing higher prices for their beloved cars. And let's be real, nobody wants to pay more for a Camry. The tariffs are like a bad case of engine knock for the entire auto industry. They're disrupting supply chains, forcing manufacturers to scramble for parts and adjust production plans. It's chaos out there, people. And the worst part? The uncertainty is breeding fear. Companies are hesitant to invest, workers are worried about their jobs, and consumers are holding off on buying new cars. It's a vicious cycle, and it's only going to get worse if something doesn't change. The American Automotive Policy Council, a group that represents the big three US automakers, has called the tariffs a tax on the American consumer. And they're not wrong. These tariffs are going to hit everyone's wallets from the factory floor to the showroom floor. But it's not just about the money, folks, it's about the principle. These tariffs are protectionist, short-sighted, and ultimately self-defeating. They're going to hurt the very people they're supposed to help, American workers. So, what does this all mean for the average American? Well, for starters, it means higher prices for cars, and not just new cars, but used cars too. That's right, the tariffs are going to trickle down and hit you where it hurts, your wallet. But it's not just about the money, folks. It's about the American dream. The dream of owning a home, raising a family, and yes, driving a shiny new car. These tariffs are putting that dream at risk for millions of Americans. The tariffs are also a threat to the US economy as a whole. They're creating uncertainty, discouraging investment, and potentially leading to a trade war with some of our closest allies, and nobody wins in a trade war, folks. So, what can we do about it? Well, for starters, we can contact our elected officials and tell them to put the brakes on these tariffs. We can also support organizations that are fighting for free trade and open markets. The future of the American auto industry and the livelihoods of millions of American workers hangs in the balance. This is a time for action, folks. Let's make our voices heard.